It comes as no surprise, therefore, to learn that religion and science have always been considered to be twin sisters by Islam, and that today, at a time when science has taken such great strides, they still continue to be associated, and furthermore, certain scientific data are used for the better understanding of the Quranic text. In 1935, I was 15 in a Christian college, and at that time, very important discoveries of necessarily human paintings in caverns in the south of Spain were made, and the specialists said, very likely, these paintings date back to about 15,000 years from now. In my book of religious teachings, it was written that the first appearance of man on earth dated back to about 40 centuries before Jesus. I said to him, what is the credible? The father said me, no, please don't confuse two things. You have the science and you have religion. If there is something which is not in accordance, it's the religion who said the truth. But I told him that it is impossible. It's a well-established fact. The first appearance of man on earth cannot be evaluated to this time. It is impossible. We were educated. Religion said something, and science said another thing. I said to myself, something is going wrong. In the Gospel of Luke, for example, you have between Adam and Jesus 76 generations are mentioned. That is not possible. Exegetes in Christian or Jewish communities think that the religious teachings were inspired to the author of the Bible, but considering the things which are not religious teachings, it's a fact that they wrote according to the ideas, superstition, myth of their time. When I was at that time in approximately in the 40s, received Muslim patients in Paris, and when I had the opportunity to speak with many of them concerning their religion. For me, originally, I thought that the Quran was the work of a man. I took the decision to learn Arabic in Paris. I was 50 exactly at that time. The students are able to read the parts of the Quran which are not too much difficult, like most of the passages of Surah Al-Baqarah, for example, and at the same time, modern Arabic, like Al-Ayam min Taha Hussein, to compare the Arabic language of the Quran, Al-Fusha, with modern Arabic. That was an excellent thing for us to make a comparison and to feel that the language of the Quran was something without any comparison. When I finished my studies, thanks to God, I was in a position to read the Quran without any preconceived idea. We, at the beginning, without at all a belief in the fact that the Quran might be the word of God. I took notice of a lot of verses. At the end, that was approximately between 150 and 200 verses, and gathered all these verses by discipline, by chapters, and I was extremely embarrassed. I said to myself, but it appears to me that it is impossible, considering what was the history of sciences, that a man who have written that almost 14 centuries ago. In 1976, for the first time, in a lecture at the French Academy of Medicine in Paris, the word Quran appeared. They were stupefied, and the question which was put was the following one: are you sure that the text of the Quran we have now is the text of the old times. I said them, go to our national library and you will be able to find all texts of the Quran of the 8th century of the Christian era. And you will be in a position to compare the text of that time and the text which is widespread now. This was not an objection, that was a question. This lecture has not have been forgotten. The book appeared in 1976, and now it is a bestseller in France. The 13th edition in French was in preparation, and I have received last year the Golden Book Award. The publisher said me that last year they printed in French 140,000 copies, not including the pocketbook editions to be sent to foreign countries. You do not think that it is a belief in Islam which would have been as the starting point of the thing. Not at all. It is through scientific reasoning. I said the Quran cannot be the work of a man. It's a terrible thing when in your life, when you are almost 50, you have in your mind, you say, but maybe I am completely wrong about the Holy Scriptures, but it's terrible. Alors, I wanted absolutely to improve my knowledge concerning the Quran without any particular aim, not at all. As a medical doctor, particularly attracted to natural sciences and physiology, I must confess that in 1972, when I read the Quran in the original text for the first time, these data concerning man were those which impressed me most. And in view of the state of knowledge in Prophet Muhammad's day, it is inconceivable that many of the statements in the Quran which are connected with science could have been the work of any man. It is therefore perfectly legitimate not only to regard the Quran as the expression of revelation, but also to award it a very special place on account of the guarantee of authenticity it provides and the presence in it of reflection which, when studied today, appear as a challenge to human explanation. I suppose that my explanations are enough for everybody one who is objective and sincere to say the Quran cannot be the work of a man. Suppose I was born in a Muslim family. Suppose my name would be Mohammed Boukai instead of Mori's Boukai. Be sure that I would have been very proud of that. Do you imagine that I would have made such a work? You will see, since you are young in the future, maybe after several decades, when I shall be a dead man, you will note that many people among the scientists are accepting to take into account this compatibility between religions and science. What I think is the truth, nothing more. For the Bible, always for the Quran. But for the Quran, I see that I could not find something in contradiction with science. Haman 6 times appeared in the Quran. I visited famous specialists in hieroglyphs in Paris, and I told him I know a text which appeared during the 7th century of the Christian era. He knew perfectly well the Arabic language. I wrote Haman before him, and he said me that is not possible, because the hieroglyphs were absolutely unknown between the 3rd century and the discovery of Champollion during the 19th century. It's not possible. I told him, yes, it's not possible, but maybe you will have another opinion when you will see this Arabic text. What it is, this text? I told him, I want to, at first, that you tell me the meaning of Haman in hieroglyph. I said, Haman is a family name of the New Kingdom, and if you consult to the library of the Collège de France, the famous dictionary of the family name of the New Kingdom by a German author whose name is Ranke, you might find Haman. And he said me, I do not remember exactly what was the profession of Haman, but the profession of Haman is indicated in this dictionary. I went to the library, and in the dictionary it was written, Haman, a director of the workers in Quarles. That is to say, the man who was building with stones, of course, because at that time the great monuments were built with stone, not at all with wood. And so that you have in this dictionary of the hieroglyphic name the name of Haman, to whom the Pharaoh said, build a tower. And when I came back to this professor, this expert, and I said to him, have a look, and I opened the Quran before him, he was stupefied without any voice. I told him, like the Bible preserved the name of Ramesses, the Quran preserved the name of Haman. He was stupefied and he was without voice, and he said, maybe we might write something about that in the future, and unfortunately, 6 months later, he died.